What if the clearest evidence of alien life wasn't found in distant galaxies, but right next door, on Mars? Imagine a single rock covered in mysterious dark spots, shaking the foundations of science and forcing us to rethink humanity's place in the cosmos. NASA's Perseverance rover may have uncovered the most convincing clues yet that life once existed on the red planet. From strange patterns to organic molecules and life-linked minerals, the evidence is mounting. Could this be the moment we finally prove we are not alone in the universe? The Martian rock with strange dark spots and its curious nickname. Imagine looking at a rock on Mars and realizing it's not just another stone, but something that seems to hold an ancient secret. That's exactly what Perseverance found when it discovered a rock covered with strange patterns, with small dark spots standing out against the reddish surface. These details immediately caught scientists' attention. The rock's appearance was so peculiar that the team quickly decided to give nicknames to the formations. They resembled leopard spots scattered across the surface, and in some points, small rounded shapes called poppy seeds. While these names may sound playful, for NASA geologists, they help identify and distinguish possible biosignatures. On Earth, similar patterns are often associated with the presence of microorganisms. These microbes leave traces when interacting with sediments, creating shapes that fossilize over time. Seeing something similar on Mars is, at the very least, electrifying. It raises the hypothesis that the red planet may once have hosted simple forms of life. The rock was not found by chance. It was located in a region that once contained water, an essential ingredient for life as we know it. This makes the discovery even more valuable as it reinforces the context of an environment once capable of supporting organisms. Scientists knew they needed to proceed with caution. There have been moments in history when exciting discoveries on Mars were later explained by non-biological chemical processes. That's why, upon finding the rock, they immediately began a careful analysis to rule out other explanations. What stands out is the similarity between this finding and markings observed in ancient mud deposits on Earth. Many of those sites, now fossilized, were once full of microbial life. The resemblance cannot be ignored, which is why the scientific community turned its eyes toward this mysterious stone. This rock is not just an inanimate object. It may be a time capsule, preserving records of a past when Mars wasn't an arid desert, but a planet with rivers, lakes, and perhaps even life. That possibility is what fuels NASA's excitement. The discovery also sparks imagination beyond science. For the public, it brings up visions of what it would mean to confirm life on another planet. If something as simple as spots on a rock can mean so much, imagine what definitive proof would represent for humanity. That's why this rock is considered one of the most important samples collected by Perseverance. The playful nickname hides the seriousness of a possible clue to answering humanity's oldest question. In short, the leopard spots and poppy seeds are more than visual curiosities. They could be the key to proving that Mars was once alive. Why the Jezero crater was chosen as the exploration site. The choice of Jezero crater was not random. Scientists analyzed high-resolution images from orbiting satellites and noticed that this region showed clear signs of once containing water. Ancient river channels formed a fossilized delta, just like life-rich regions on Earth. This made it the perfect location to search for biosignatures. Billions of years ago, Jezero wasn't just a crater, it was a vast lake. Water flowed in from different directions, depositing sediments at the bottom. Those sediments, rich in minerals, are ideal for preserving microbial fossils if they ever existed. Another important factor is that Jezero was part of a larger river system. That means if life did exist on Mars, this would have been one of the best places for it to thrive. The environment combined three key ingredients: water, energy, and chemical elements. When scientists talk about habitability, they look for exactly those conditions. And Jezero checked all the boxes. The discovery of carbonate minerals confirmed the presence of water, strengthening the case for habitability. For NASA, this was the green light to land Perseverance. The delta is also rich in clay, a material known to trap and preserve organic molecules. On Earth, many microbial fossils have been found in clay deposits, as it acts like a safe vault, protecting traces of life for billions of years. Safety also played a role. Although the region is rocky and challenging, NASA developed new navigation technology to ensure Perseverance could land precisely in the right spot. This shows how the mission was carefully planned to maximize results. Jezero is also geologically diverse. Its layers represent different periods, allowing scientists to study not just one era, but the entire timeline of Mars's climate history. This helps explain how the planet turned from a wet world into a dry desert. Many scientists believe that if fossilized microbial life is to be found on Mars, Jezero is the place. That makes every discovery there significant and closely followed worldwide. The crater could be Mars's equivalent of Earth's paleontological sites, holding ancient secrets waiting to be revealed. If confirmed, Jezero will forever be remembered as the place where humanity first proved we are not alone. Thus, Jezero is more than a location. It's the heart of our search for extraterrestrial life. Every rock studied and every sample collected there brings us closer to answering humanity's greatest question. The similarities between the patterns found on Mars and microbial marks on Earth, scientists are used to identifying signs left by microbes in ancient rocks. Small circular marks, stains, or fossilized patterns are often interpreted as records of microscopic life. When Perseverance spotted something similar on Mars, alarms went off immediately. These patterns, which on Earth are read as biosignatures, appear when organisms interact with mineral-rich sediments. Over time, the material hardens, preserving a kind of fingerprint of life. Seeing the same type of formation on another planet is hard to dismiss as coincidence. Researchers compared images of the Martian rock with Earth's geological records. The resemblance was striking. Circles and dark patches that looked exactly like the remnants of ancient microbial colonies. This parallel strengthened the idea that Mars may have once hosted life. Still, caution was necessary. Geologists know nature can mimic biology in surprising ways. Chemical reactions and geological processes can sometimes create similar-looking patterns. That's why the team had to dig deeper before making any claims. Even so, the excitement was undeniable. Many scientists who have worked for decades on the search for extraterrestrial life said this was one of the most intriguing pieces of evidence they had ever seen. The mere fact that comparisons with Earth's fossils were possible already made the finding historic. For many researchers, the similarity was too strong to dismiss. Even if not definitive proof, it opened the door to the hypothesis that Mars once had the right conditions for life to flourish. Another important factor was the environment. The rock was found in an ancient lake bed, just like places on Earth where microbial fossils are abundant. If life began on Earth in such conditions, why not on Mars? These patterns were more than stains. They represented potential biosignatures, each detail possibly part of a larger puzzle about Mars's history. That alone justified entire missions focused on exploring them further. The fascinating part is how this finding ties Mars's story to Earth's. It suggests that both planets may have shared similar evolutionary chapters, even if only briefly. Thus, the similarities between Martian patterns and Earth's microbial fossils are more than scientific curiosities. They may be the closest link we've ever had to proving life existed beyond our planet. The sample called Sapphire Canyon and its scientific importance. Once Perseverance spotted the mysterious rock, the decision was clear. It had to be studied more closely. The team drilled into it and collected a sample that was nicknamed Sapphire Canyon. This name carried weight, and indeed the sample became one of the most valuable of the mission. The process was done with extreme care. The rover's robotic arm drilled into the rock and sealed the core inside a metal tube, designed to preserve it for years. These tubes are part of NASA's long-term strategy to one day bring Martian material back to Earth. What makes Sapphire Canyon so special is the combination of factors it contains. It shows traces of water, organic molecules, and minerals often linked to biological processes. This rare combination makes it a prime candidate for holding evidence of ancient life. Right after drilling, Perseverance took a selfie with the freshly bored rock. The photo went viral as a symbol of humanity's progress. We were closer than ever to answering the age-old question, are we alone? For scientists, the sample is comparable to Earth's most important fossil deposits. Just as those sites reveal our planet's biological history, Sapphire Canyon could reveal Mars's forgotten chapters. The sample is considered such a priority that it has been placed on the short list of must-return materials for future missions. If only a handful of Martian samples make it back, Sapphire Canyon will certainly be among them. It is not just a rock fragment. It may hold the first solid proof that life once existed on another world. That's why some call it the crown jewel of Perseverance's collection. The collection of Sapphire Canyon also marks a technological milestone. This is the first time in history that samples with such potential have been drilled, sealed, and preserved on Mars for a return mission. The excitement around this sample highlights how small fragments can carry enormous significance. Within a few centimeters of rock may lie the answer to humanity's greatest mystery. Thus, Sapphire Canyon is not just another sample. It may be the very key that confirms life once thrived on Mars. The use of Pixel and Sherlock tools on the Perseverance rover. To study Martian samples, Perseverance relies not only on cameras, but also on state-of-the-art instruments. Two of the most important are nicknamed Pixel and Sherlock, friendly names for incredibly sophisticated technology designed to uncover the chemical and mineral composition of Martian rocks. Pixel works like a chemical microscope. It emits X-ray beams that identify which elements are present on the rock's surface. This allows scientists to detect iron, phosphorus, sulfur, and other life-essential components. In short, it scans the recipe of the stone. Sherlock, on the other hand, uses a different approach. It fires ultraviolet lasers to excite molecules in the rock and observe how they react. These reactions create spectral signatures that reveal the presence of organic compounds and minerals. Essentially, Sherlock hunts for carbon-based molecules, the building blocks of life. Working together, Pixel and Sherlock provide complementary insights. Pixel maps the elements, while Sherlock pinpoints the organic molecules, creating a fuller picture of the sample's potential. This partnership increases the accuracy of analyses and avoids misinterpretations. When applied to the Sapphire Canyon rock, the results stunned scientists. Sherlock detected organic molecules exactly where the strange spots were, while Pixel revealed minerals tied to biological processes. For the scientific community, this was an emotional moment. It wasn't just intriguing visuals, it was chemical data consistent with ancient life. Suddenly, the idea of microbial fossils in Mars's rocks became more plausible than ever. These results show the importance of equipping rovers with advanced tools. Unlike earlier missions such as Viking, Perseverance can perform highly complex analyses directly on the Martian surface. Still, there are limits. Pixel and Sherlock cannot alone provide definitive proof of life. They strongly indicate potential biosignatures, but true confirmation will only come once samples are brought back to Earth. The use of these tools reflects the blend of science and technology in space exploration. Each laser pulse and X-ray scan brings humanity closer to answering one of its greatest mysteries. Thus, Pixel and Sherlock are more than instruments. They are humanity's eyes and ears on Mars, revealing secrets hidden for billions of years. The discovery of organic molecules in the analyzed rock. One of the most thrilling moments of the Perseverance mission was the detection of organic molecules in the collected sample. These carbon-based compounds are considered the fundamental building blocks of life. Finding them on Mars is like uncovering a crucial clue in an ancient mystery. Scientists are careful to note that organic molecules do not necessarily mean life. They can also form through geological processes. But when they appear in the right context, such as within old Martian mud deposits, they take on a far greater significance. In Sapphire Canyon, these organic molecules were found exactly where the odd dark spots and circles appeared. That connection suggested they weren't random, but possibly tied to biological activity in Mars's distant past. The molecules included hydrocarbons and other carbon-rich structures. On Earth, such compounds are directly linked to biology. They are present in plants, animals, and even fossilized microbes. Seeing something similar on Mars was astonishing. This wasn't the first time Perseverance detected organics, but it was the clearest and most compelling case so far. Sapphire Canyon stood out as a milestone in the hunt for alien life. Another striking detail is their preservation over billions of years. Somehow, Mars managed to safeguard these fragile molecules despite its harsh, radiation-filled environment. That makes the sample even more valuable. For scientists, finding organic molecules is like discovering ashes from a long-extinguished fire. Even if the flames are gone, the remains prove that something once burned. Likewise, these molecules hint that something biological may once have existed. The discovery also opens doors for future studies. Once brought back to Earth, these samples can undergo far more advanced testing, turning tantalizing clues into concrete evidence. For the public, the message is clear. We are closer than ever to knowing if we are alone. For scientists, it's a reminder that every clue must be handled with caution, but also with excitement. Thus, the detection of organic molecules is not just a scientific curiosity. It is a giant leap forward in humanity's quest to determine whether life ever emerged beyond Earth. The presence of minerals such as vivianite and greigite and their link to life. Among the most intriguing findings in the Sapphire Canyon sample was the detection of two very specific minerals, vivianite and greigite. These are not commonly found just anywhere. On Earth, they often appear in environments connected to biological activity, such as the decomposition of organic matter. That alone made scientists pay close attention. Vivianite usually forms in low-temperature aquatic environments, especially where decaying organic material is present. Greigite, meanwhile, is often associated with microbes that use iron and sulfur as energy sources. Together, these two minerals strongly suggest biological processes may have occurred. The conditions they point to are highly specific. Vivianite, for instance, cannot withstand high heat. It would be destroyed. This rules out the possibility that the rock was exposed to extreme thermal events, making the preservation of potential biosignatures far more likely. On Earth, minerals like these are considered footprints of invisible life. They can serve as indirect records of microbial activity that occurred billions of years ago. Finding them in Mars' ancient lakebed strengthens the parallel with early Earth. Another fascinating clue is their coexistence with organic molecules. Combined, the evidence paints a compelling picture. Water, organics, and minerals typically tied to biology. Like puzzle pieces falling into place, they point toward a once-living environment. Although purely geological explanations exist, scientists consider them less likely. The coincidence of so many factors aligning at once makes the biological explanation more convincing. It's as though Mars is whispering about its past. The presence of vivianite and greigite feels like a signature left behind by microbes that once thrived in the Martian mud. These findings also help dismiss alternative scenarios, such as acid-water reactions or high-temperature processes. Neither fits the evidence, leaving the microbial life hypothesis as the strongest. What excites researchers even more is that if life truly existed, it likely relied on chemical energy, just as many microbes do on Earth. This shows how adaptable life can be, even in harsh conditions. Thus, these minerals are not just geological curiosities. They may be among the strongest pieces of evidence yet that Mars was once alive. Alternative hypotheses raised by scientists to explain the markings. Despite the excitement, scientists knew they couldn't jump to conclusions. History has shown that apparent signs of Martian life can sometimes be explained by chemistry alone. That's why several alternative hypotheses were proposed to explain the strange spots in minerals. The first was heating by high temperatures. If the rock had been exposed to extreme heat for long periods, it might have produced similar chemical signatures. But this was ruled out since vivianite cannot survive such conditions. Another idea was acidic water reactions. Over time, acidic fluids flowing through the rock might have generated the observed minerals. However, no additional evidence of acidity was found. In fact, the presence of minerals like olivine, which would have been destroyed by acid, contradicted this explanation. A third hypothesis involved catalyst-driven reactions. In this scenario, organic molecules could have formed without life, aided by catalysts that accelerate chemical reactions. While possible in theory, scientists found no strong evidence for it in Mars' environment. These alternatives were tested because science demands rigor. Declaring life on Mars without exhausting every option would be reckless. Each hypothesis had to be weighed carefully before being set aside. Yet, none of the alternatives fit the data convincingly. High heat would have erased vivianite, Acids didn't leave other expected traces, and catalysts seemed improbable under the given conditions. The biological explanation remained the most consistent. This process mirrors how discoveries are validated on Earth. Fossils and biosignatures often undergo years of debate before being confirmed as biological. Mars is no exception. Considering alternatives also strengthens credibility. By showing that every explanation was explored, scientists make the case for microbial life more compelling. It also reflects NASA's cautious approach. Rather than rushing to announce alien fossils, they classify findings as potential biosignatures. This prevents hype from overshadowing the science. In the end, ruling out the alternatives only reinforced the extraordinary possibility that ancient microbial life is the most plausible answer to what Perseverance observed. Thus, questioning and testing didn't weaken the discovery. It made it stronger, more reliable, and infinitely more fascinating. The limitations of analyses carried out only by rovers on Mars. Despite their incredible technology, rovers like Perseverance face significant limitations. Their instruments are advanced, but they cannot match the sophistication of Earth-based laboratories. This means that no matter how promising the discoveries may be, they cannot yet be considered definitive proof of life. One of the biggest challenges is resolution. Even with Pixel and Sherlock, the rover cannot observe microscopic structures with the same precision as electron microscopes on Earth. This restricts how detailed the analyses can be. Another limitation is the number of experiments possible. On Earth, scientists can run countless tests on the same sample, using different labs and methods. On Mars, Perseverance must be selective. It has limited tools, power, and time. There is also the issue of time delay. Every action on Mars must be programmed from Earth, with signals taking minutes to travel each way. That makes complex or repetitive experiments slow and resource-consuming. Replication is another challenge. In science, repeating tests is key to validating discoveries. But in Mars missions, once a sample is sealed or used for one experiment, it can't be reanalyzed in multiple ways. This limitation has caused confusion before. In 1976, the Viking landers ran experiments suggesting microbial activity in Martian soil. Years later, those results were reinterpreted as purely chemical reactions. This history warns against relying solely on rover data. Even so, rovers play a crucial role. They act as scouts, identifying which rocks and soils are worth bringing back to Earth. Without them, we wouldn't even know where to look for biosignatures. These constraints emphasize the importance of the next step: returning samples. Only then will scientists have the full arsenal of modern techniques to confirm whether Mars truly hosted life. So, Perseverance is not there to give final answers, but to open the door. It is the first stage of a much larger process that will culminate once Martian material is in our hands. Thus, the rover's limitations don't diminish its mission. They highlight how close we are to a breakthrough, while reminding us that patience is part of discovery. NASA's confidence scale for life detection. To handle such delicate findings, NASA uses a tool called the confidence scale for life detection. This framework measures how certain scientists can be that a discovery is truly biological rather than chemical. The scale runs from level 1 to level 7. At level 1, there are ambiguous signals, something that could be caused by life but also by chemistry. At level 7, multiple independent observations confirm that the evidence can only be explained by life. It's the gold standard of proof. The discoveries made by Perseverance, including the Sapphire Canyon sample, likely sit somewhere in the middle of the scale. They are highly suggestive but still fall short of definitive evidence. The reason is that independent confirmation is missing. So far, all data come from one rover using limited instruments. To climb the scale, we need Earth-based labs analyzing the same samples with advanced techniques. The existence of this scale shows NASA's caution. Instead of rushing to proclaim life on Mars, scientists label these as potential biosignatures. This keeps expectations realistic while maintaining scientific integrity. A historical example of why this matters is the ALH 84001 meteorite found in Antarctica. Initially thought to contain Martian microfossils, it sparked decades of debate, but was never conclusively proven. A clear framework could have managed expectations better. The scale also helps communicate with the public. By assigning a level, NASA clarifies how confident they are, avoiding both exaggerated claims and unnecessary skepticism. For researchers, each step upward is a milestone. Moving closer to level 7 means moving closer to one of the greatest scientific discoveries of all time. Right now, Perseverance's findings are somewhere in the middle, a bridge between mystery and revelation. The data are strong, but the final leap requires more. Thus, the confidence scale is more than a tool. It's a reminder that extraordinary claims demand extraordinary evidence, and that science must earn its certainty step by step. The crucial role of returning Martian samples to Earth. No matter how advanced Perseverance's instruments are, definitive proof of life on Mars will only come when samples are brought back to Earth. This is the goal of NASA's ambitious Mars Sample Return Project, considered one of the most important missions in space exploration. The importance of this step lies in the ability to perform much more complex analyses. With cutting-edge tools like electron microscopes and advanced spectrometry, scientists will be able to examine Martian material at a level no rover could ever achieve. Perseverance is already preparing for this. Since 2021, the rover has been drilling and sealing tubes of rock and soil. These tubes are designed to remain uncontaminated during transport, ensuring pristine samples for Earth laboratories. Among them, the Sapphire Canyon sample is a top priority. With its mix of water traces, organics, and biologically relevant minerals, it may hold the clearest evidence of ancient Martian life. Bringing back samples is not just a technical milestone, but also a philosophical one. For the first time, humanity will hold untouched fragments of another planet, possibly containing fossilized alien microbes. Once on Earth, these samples will be studied by multiple teams worldwide. Independent verification is critical. If many labs reach the same conclusion, confidence in the results skyrockets. The Mars sample return will also be a technological leap. It will mark the first time in history a rocket has been launched from another planet's surface, a stepping stone for future crewed missions. That is why the mission is seen as the #1 priority in planetary science. It doesn't just promise rocks, it promises answers to one of humanity's greatest mysteries. In short, Perseverance is gathering a cosmic gift for the future. When these samples finally arrive, they could forever change our understanding of life in the universe. Thus, returning Martian samples is not merely a step forward, it is the key to unlocking whether Mars was once alive. The challenges and costs of collecting and transporting Martian material. If bringing back lunar rocks was already complex, imagine doing the same from Mars, millions of kilometers away. The Mars sample return is considered the most ambitious robotic mission in history, and with that ambition come immense challenges and costs. The first hurdle is collecting the samples safely. Perseverance is already drilling and sealing them, but they must be stored in places accessible for the future rocket that will retrieve them. This requires precise planning. The second challenge is launching a rocket from Mars's surface. Humanity has never attempted liftoff from another planet. While Mars's weaker gravity helps, the technology required is still extremely complex and expensive. Next comes the task of placing the samples into Martian orbit. A specialized capture system will be needed to grab the tubes and transfer them into a spacecraft bound for Earth. This will be one of the most delicate parts of the mission. Then there's the financial cost. Estimates suggest the mission could exceed tens of billions of dollars, making it one of NASA's most expensive projects ever. This raises political debates and concerns over budget cuts. There's also the timeline. The return is not expected until the 2030s, meaning humanity will have to wait more than a decade for final answers. Another critical factor is biological safety. If the samples contain microbes, even fossilized ones, strict quarantine protocols will be required to prevent contamination on Earth. Facilities will need to be as secure as those handling the world's most dangerous pathogens. These challenges have already caused delays and uncertainty. At times, the mission has even faced cancellation threats due to budget constraints. Still, scientific pressure has kept it alive. Despite the obstacles, the potential payoff is beyond measure. Confirming life on Mars would rival the discovery of DNA or Darwin's theory of evolution in impact. Thus, while the Mars sample return is risky and expensive, it could yield the most profound discovery in human history. proof that life is not unique to Earth. The possibility of confirming ancient microbial life on Mars. When scientists talk about life on Mars, they don't imagine civilizations or advanced beings, but rather microorganisms. Tiny microbes, similar to bacteria, are the most likely candidates for having once lived on the red planet. And proving the existence of microbial fossils would be enough to revolutionize science. The main reason is that microbial life is the most resilient and adaptable form of life we know. On Earth, microbes thrive in extreme environments, boiling hot springs, frozen glaciers, and even deep within rocks. If life can exist here, why not on ancient Mars? The evidence gathered by Perseverance points exactly in this direction. The presence of water, organic molecules, and key minerals suggests that Mars once had the right conditions for microbes to flourish. Confirming microbial fossils would prove that life is not exclusive to Earth. If it emerged here and on Mars, under different conditions, the chances are much higher that life exists throughout the cosmos. Scientists also highlight that the search isn't only for past life. Some believe microbial life may still survive underground, shielded from Mars's radiation and extreme surface conditions. Future missions may be able to test this. If fossils are found, they would be analyzed at the microscopic level. Fossilized cell structures, biofilms, or chemical patterns typical of life could confirm their biological origin. Such a discovery would rival Darwin's theory of evolution in importance. Another fascinating implication is whether life on Earth and Mars share the same origin. Did life start independently on both planets, or was it transferred between them via meteorites? Either answer would reshape our understanding of biology. The scientific impact would be immense, but the cultural impact would be even greater. Humanity would know it was never truly alone, even in its earliest days. Thus, the possibility of confirming ancient microbial life is not a distant dream. It's the central goal of Mars exploration, and we may be closer than ever to achieving it. What began as curious spots on a rock could one day prove that life once thrived on another world. The cultural and philosophical impact of discovering life beyond Earth. Confirming life on Mars wouldn't just be a scientific breakthrough, it would be a cultural and philosophical turning point. For millennia, humans have looked to the skies and wondered if we are alone. A single yes would forever change our perspective. Religions and philosophies would adapt to this reality. Many would see the discovery as proof that life is a universal phenomenon, not a miracle confined to Earth. Others might interpret it as expanding humanity's spiritual role in the cosmos. Philosophically, such a discovery would end anthropocentrism, the belief that humanity is central to existence. Instead, we would recognize ourselves as part of a vast cosmic web of life. This revelation could also unite humanity. Just as the first images of Earth from space fostered a global environmental awareness, proof of alien life might inspire us to see ourselves as one species sharing the same destiny. Culturally, the impact would ripple through art, literature, and film. Science fiction would no longer be pure imagination. It would reflect a reality confirmed by science. This would inspire new generations of thinkers and explorers. In science, the field of astrobiology would gain unprecedented momentum. The discovery would act as a beacon, driving missions not only to Mars, but also to moons like Europa and Enceladus, which may also harbor life. Ethical and political debates would arise too. If alien microbes exist, do we have a responsibility to protect them just as we protect endangered species on Earth? How do we balance exploration with preservation? The discovery would also reshape our sense of time. If Martian life existed billions of years ago, it proves the universe carries stories far older and more complex than our own. For many, the moment would be as transformative as when humanity realized Earth was not flat or that it orbited the sun. It would mark the beginning of a new era. Thus, the cultural and philosophical consequences of finding life on Mars would extend far beyond science. They would redefine what it means to be human and what it means to be alive in the universe. How this discovery could change our view of the universe and humanity. If the confirmation of life on Mars finally comes, the impact will be so profound that it will forever reshape how we see the universe. It would show that life is not a rare miracle, but a natural outcome wherever the right conditions exist. This would radically expand our understanding of life's abundance. Earth would no longer be seen as a unique cradle of life, but as one example among many. This shift would humble humanity, reminding us that we are part of something far greater than ourselves. Such a discovery would also fuel exploration. If microbes once thrived on Mars, why not in Europa's hidden oceans or Enceladus's icy plumes? The search for life would become the central mission of space science. It would also influence how we think about humanity's future. Knowing life exists beyond Earth might inspire us to expand responsibly into the solar system, carrying the duty to respect and protect alien ecosystems. The social impact would be just as powerful. The realization that we are not alone could unite people across borders and cultures. Our differences would pale compared to the cosmic truth we all share. Philosophically, it would raise new questions. If life is common, is intelligence also common? Are there civilizations out there, or are microbes the most typical form of life? Each answer would carry profound consequences. This perspective shift would be comparable to humanity learning that Earth orbits the sun, or that the Earth is round. It would redefine our place in the cosmos with the same transformative power. Arthur C. Clarke once said there are two possibilities. Either we are alone in the universe, or we are not. Both are equally terrifying. The discovery of life on Mars would tip the balance toward the second option and change everything. It would not only be a scientific milestone, but an existential revelation. Life would be confirmed as a cosmic principle, not a local accident. Thus, the discovery would not just be about Mars, it would be about us, our history, our place in the universe, and our shared journey as living beings. It would remind us that humanity is only beginning to scratch the surface of the greatest mystery of all, life itself. Perhaps one day, when those Martian samples finally arrive on Earth, we will confirm what these clues have been whispering all along, that life is not unique to our planet. Such a discovery would not just answer a scientific question, but reshape how humanity sees itself and its place in the cosmos. Mars may become the mirror that shows us we were never truly alone. And from that moment on, every look at the night sky will carry a new meaning. The universe may be far more alive than we ever dared to imagine.